Hi everyone, and welcome to Alliance Live, the online information and learning portal showcasing examples of innovation and integrated working taking place across Scotland within health and social care. We continue the series of these 30-minute webinars focusing on co-production in the community, working it out together, presented by Hilda Campbell, Chief Executive for Cope Scotland. As her friends share, Hilda has always had an opinion about building a kinder world. This has taken her to where she is now, CEO of Cope Scotland, a charity led by the voices of lived experience. Hilda has acquired a variety of skills, qualifications and experience along the way to help her be as effective as possible in her role. But she has learned most from listening to the people and communities who seek improvements in services and working with those individuals over the past few decades. Finally, as Hilda delivers the presentation, we invite those watching to pose questions using the Q&A box, which is found within the toolbar, which should be at the bottom of your screen. These will make up the questions for the question and answer session, which will follow on from the presentation and bring our webinar to a close. So without further delay, over to Hilda.
Hi Nick. First of all, I'd like to thank you and the Alliance very much for providing this opportunity to come along and have a chat with everyone, and for everyone out there who's listening in. I'll say first of all, the more I learn, the less I know. So while I've been doing this for a long time, I would not claim to be an expert in it. What I want to do today is maybe just share some of the learning that we have, and also hopefully some people will come in with some questions and I'll learn some new things too. We're just having some fun here getting the slides to come up. Okie dokie then. So, aim today, a wee bit about Cope Scotland, why we think co-production matters, and then a wee chance to share ideas with each other. So, a kind of very brief overview. We began as an urban aid project in 1991, and I've kind of been there since then. And one of the first things that myself and my colleague Anne did was went out and spoke to everyone we possibly could. People in clubs, people in shops, people in hospital, people in the street, parents groups, housing groups, everybody. And said that we've been told to be a community-led initiative to empower service users to shape the service they want to see where they want to see them, increase community-led workshops, provide advice and information. But what would you like us to do? And from what we heard, we began to develop the service. And there's almost three elements to what we do. So on a one-to-one basis, we provide support to individuals who may be struggling as a result of a life challenge. And a lot of the work that we do is around helping people build their confidence and resilience to either overcome that challenge or learn to live with the challenges that sometimes don't have an easy resolution. Our co-design work is by listening to people who have an issue and asking, what is it that you want to change, and what is it that you think we can do to help that, and then working out together the actual interventions that we offer, from the initial chat we have with people about helping identify people's goals, to the interventions we offer, to the follow-up support, to wider population-based work, really is shaped around what people have said matters to them and what they want to see. And in some cases, people are working with us to help take that forward. We recognise as well that sometimes some of the issues that people come to us with have no easy resolution in a direct one-to-one service. So it's about how you work with partners. So most recently, we had a colleague from the food bank asking us if we would please physically put someone in there on drop-in day, because the number of people presenting who were in a very vulnerable place was really quite high. So we shuffled about the diary, and glad to say we were able to put one of the team in. But listening to people about why they're so despairing, we recognise this is more than what we can do alone. So we're trying to look with other partners to bring together an event with people who are using the food banks to share the challenges they have and what they think needs to change so that the families and their own lives can improve. And then whatever we have, we're keen to share with others. None of us alone have the answers. We're not interested in growing an empire. There only is the one-to-one service in the west of Glasgow, but Cope Scotland shares all over Scotland. So anything that we have that people want to adopt and adapt, we're very keen to share with them. So when I'm asked about co-production, I kind of think it's like asking somebody, why do you breathe? And it's like, well, if you don't breathe, you're not going to do very well. You're not going to survive. And for us, not involving the voices of lived experience in shaping services just seems, I don't know how you could deliver a service if people aren't involved, because at the end of the day, people know what they're looking for. They know what they think about the service that they've received. So you need to create that safe space to actually hear. And sometimes that means things that you think are the berries, people aren't very impressed with at all. And that's one of the challenges sometimes with co-production. And I've done it myself. A few years ago, people had said they wanted wee tips on X, Y, and Z. So I put together this little book of coping. And I was so impressed with it. And I thought it'd been co-produced because I had asked people what they thought should be in the booklet. And then it was coming time for review. And I was like, okay, we're going to review the book. So feel free, be as brutal as you want. If you think parts of it need changed, just let me know. So there was a lot of kind of silence. I was like, okay, right. No, I can take it. And there was it's rubbish, Hilda. I'm like, all right. Why did you not tell me that the last time? Because you were that enthusiastic about it. Didn't want to burst your bubble. It's like that, okay then, so what could we do to make it better? And from that, we ditched the coping booklet and we started making up tip sheets. We started doing a lot more things as videos. We started creating affirmation cards. Most recently, we're looking at jars for affirmation, for joy, and beads that can be used for affirmation, because we constantly go back and say, is this really what you think is going to work, rather than, as the wee slide says, here's one I made earlier, what do you think? Good, isn't it? Because people are usually quite kind, and if you do that, they'll say yes, but inside they're going, no. So one definition of co-production is working in partnership with people who use services, carers and citizens to improve public services. And the little diagram there is a jigsaw lid. And if you go onto the Cope website, there's some blogs on jigsaw that you can have a little bit more of a read of if you would like. And that tells you some work that we did with local people and GPs from the Deep End practice is in the west of Glasgow, to look at what people's view was of conditions that would support good mental health and well-being. And as part of Co-Production Week this Wednesday, we've been doing a lot more work since we put the jigsaw lids together, which is forming an action plan. So this Wednesday we've got a community conversation to take that back and say, okay, did we hear that correctly? Do we need to tweak it further before we take it out and see who else we can get involved? Some of the challenges in co-production is that people sometimes need support to have their voice heard. You can't just assume that you put in a nice room with tea and scones and you bring people together with friendly facilitators that everybody will feel comfortable to take part. Sometimes you actually have to do some preparatory work to help people feel confident to make their contribution. Also, power is a big issue, is recognising that there's new experts in the room. And sometimes that can be difficult, because historically we think of experts as being people who have academic qualifications or professional qualifications in those areas, where the truth of the matter is somebody living with a long-term condition is the expert in their life, is the expert in their condition. And they can certainly share what they think does and doesn't work for them. Also, it's really important that it's just not all talk and listening. You actually need to do something. People need to feel, I went along to that and you asked me, is there anything else we could do to share tips for well-being? And we gave you our ideas and you never did anything with it. By actually showing, yes, we did. So we put together one of the videos in relaxation using all the senses, because speaking to colleagues from the deaf community, we recognised a lot of our relaxation techniques were auditory. So it's like, okay. And then you go back and you speak to people and you say, well, what other ways are there that we can think about using our senses, using our sense of movement, sense of touch, sense of smell. And you learn so much by sharing with each other. You also need time to allow things to evolve, and that can be a pressure sometimes with funding, because we've got a bit of funding to do this, whereas really we need to take our time. And we also need to have the courage to be able to say this isn't working, and the faith in each other to find something better without getting into a blame game. Just need to recognise that we do all want to try and help build a kinder world, and it's about how we can do that together without blaming each other for the things that aren't going right just now. So the benefits of co-production, this is just some of them. It promotes equality, diversity and respect. Two heads is better than one. So the more opinions and experiences that you have, the more interesting it becomes in terms of trying to find solutions. It also means that you have got a wider pool of experiences to draw on, because we all look through a particular lens. So my professional background's nursing, my academic background, social sciences. So we can sometimes, without realising it, be looking at a particular lens, and maybe that's not the same lens everyone else is looking through. But creating safe spaces for courageous conversations, to be open to the fact that it's not one person's right, the other person's wrong, it's we all have an opinion. And listening to that and trying to find a way to work out something that has meaning for everyone to improve health is really what the benefits of co-production are. And as I say, in terms of service design and planning and setting budgets, I don't know how people do that if they don't involve the communities they serve and the voice to lived experience. So the benefits for us have been that we, despite increasing demand, can manage our waiting list to zero. So within 2 weeks of a food bank manager asking, can we put someone in place for a half a day? And we're a small team. That person was in place, and we've now rejigged the diary for them to be in place each week. With new assessment techniques and interventions. And again, happy to share that. If you go on our website, you'll see it. Managing change, we recognise that in some ways for us to be successful in the future, we won't be needed anymore, because what we have learned can be shared for others to adopt and adapt. And as people feel comfortable starting their own peer support groups, as partnerships that we work with start to take things off, then maybe we don't need to do that. It's not one organisation needs to do everything. It's about what we do when we come together. So this year we moved from 4,200 square feet of purpose-built premises at Drumchapel Road, which was very much an iconic place that people always commented on, to 4 rooms in Gerscaden House, because we just felt that others now could use that space, and we're delighted to say there's a local man's peer support group who are going to be moving into Drumchapel Road and doing all sorts of really exciting work from there, and that's just, for us, really exciting. This is another wee slide I just thought I would put on, and I'm quite happy if Nick wants to leave these slides on the Alliance website as well, and it just gives you further information on co-production if anyone wants to follow these. And I'll leave it up in case anyone's want to take down details. And now if anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to try at least to answer them.
That's great, Hilda. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the presentation section and onto the Q&A portion of the webinar. We've pulled a selection of questions from the chat box, and we'll begin posing them now. So the first part, we've had some questions that were sent in previously via email from individuals who couldn't join in. So the first one we have is, have you seen any changes in the balance of power between professionals and community members in your time working in communities? Do you have any tips in rebalancing that power within the design process?
Yes and no. Certainly there is more people saying they want to engage with the voices of lived experience. But in fairness, I don't always think the health professionals have been given training in how to do that. So it's a bit like what I did myself years ago. You know, here's a booklet I prepared earlier. Isn't it good? And I genuinely thought I was doing the right thing. So I think that there is in some quarters, there is a movement towards having a more egalitarian relationship with people who've lived experience of conditions. But sometimes there needs to be a bit more support around tips for, and maybe that's something that comes from this week, is it maybe have a chat with the Alliance of doing that, and we look at putting something online, or even doing this as a wee online workshop, tips for co-production.
That's great. Yeah, that's really helpful and something we can possibly consider bringing forward. Can you talk about how you manage the time constrictions that will come for people who are taking part in the co-production process? How do you work around this?
Time constrictions in terms of when people are available to come along. We meet people at different times. So we have things that happen at the weekend, we have things that happen in the evening, we have things that happen during the day. We are noticing, interestingly, that there's a lot more people are following us on Twitter and coming through with comments on Twitter, which is really helpful. So really it's just about being flexible and recognising that Monday to Friday 9 till 5 isn't going to do it. And even at the weekend, I mean, we've made links with a local parents hub, which is doing really good work, and the children are there and the parents have got time to have a chat. So a lot of the time is you have to move out of your comfort zone. It's the power again, I suppose. You need to move out of where you're comfortable to find people and go and speak to them at a time and a place that suits them, and give it time to gather those opinions. We just put together a set of young people's affirmation cards. I think probably took us 15 months. If I had decided that I can go online and Google what young people's mental health is, I could probably have done it in a day, but that's cheating. That's not what young people wanted to see in the cards. And it took that long because it took time to connect with young people, a time and a place that was comfortable for them. Also for people that they felt comfortable with to take part in those workshops. So sometimes co-production, that's why it's really important to work in partnership. Sometimes you're not getting the information firsthand. You're getting the information from someone else who is an honest broker, if you like, that the person already has a relationship with, or the group already have a relationship with, and they feel comfortable to share with that person to then share with you. So it's just about being flexible, I guess.
Thank you. So we've got a question that's came in from Lara. What is your key learning about flexibility? So in response to people from the community's view, you have been able to change how you work or what you provide, but this gets harder as organisations get larger and more complex.
We've just never got larger and more complex. We've never wanted to grow an empire, and it's a challenge that we have, because on the one hand, people will say, you know, do you have a COPE in the Borders, or do you have a COPE in Aberdeen? But we don't want to go down that road, because quite often that's a procurement road which is very competitive. And the trouble is, and it's, without meaning to be critical, a challenge can be the bigger some groups grow, the harder it is for smaller local groups to survive. And it's smaller local groups quite often who've been there for a long time, have built up trust and confidence of community members to take things forward. So for us, it's less about us growing larger, but our network growing larger. And that's one of the things which is great of being part of the Alliance membership, because there's hundreds of people, thousands of us now, an inspiring conference every year, and really good colleagues that you can connect with. So it's about what we do together.
And so she had a second part to that question. Are there key things you think can be applied everywhere to work more flexibly and responsively?
I think if we remember that we're public servants, and the public aren't there to serve us. Au contraire, we're there to serve the public. And I've just been doing so I'm not an expert in this because it's just something I've recently been having a look at, but feel free to have a look at servant leaders, because it's quite an interesting concept, and it's really about whose agenda is it that you're following. And I think if you follow the agenda, the voices of lived experience, you follow the agenda of the communities that you serve, you don't have to worry about being flexible. It's a joy. I mean, people wonder how I work the hours I do, how I've kept going despite all the challenges. I love my job. It's really, really inspiring because there's so many enthusiastic people out there. And I'm quite happy. I don't have a set agenda that it's the Hilda Campbell way and this is the way you've got to do it. I just want to build a kinder world. And if anyone's got an idea of things we can do that can help that happen, I'm interested in hearing it.
Hilda, thank you so much. I'm just having a last check of the chat box just to see if we had any more questions coming through. Perfect. So that brings us to the end of the webinar. Hilda, thank you so much for coming in and delivering the fantastic presentation and answering those questions. We hope it's provided some insight and takeaways to bring to the audience's own organisations. And before we go, we'd like to bring your attention to just some of the ways that you can get in touch with Alliance Live if you are interested in holding your own webinar or get in touch about our other activity through the podcasts. And finally, a big thank you to everyone once again who registered for this webinar. We hope to have you join us for the next one on the 21st of November with Penny Halliday, Director at NHS Dumfries and Galloway, who'll be presenting on the co-produced service that they've brought together over in Dumfries and Galloway called Wigtownshire Women in Cancer. Please use the hashtag Alliance Live on Twitter to find out more about that and to register your place. So once again, thank you, and thank you, Hilda.
Oh, thank you. It's been super, and thanks very much for tuning in.